What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Take Notes. I'm your host, Marcus, aka The Real Marky D, and today we're going to be talking about toxic relationships. It took me a little bit longer to write this one because I wanted to make sure I chose my words very carefully and talked in a way where it doesn't give the impression that I'm bitter or still hurt by somebody. So this time I won't be talking about my personal experience, but what I will do is I'll list off some signs that you could be or have been in a toxic relationship. And my hope is that you'll take these as warning signs to look out for in a person, so that way you don't end up in that kind of situation. Because no matter what people say, toxic relationships are not cute, they're not sexy, and they're not healthy, which is why they're called toxic relationships. But the real question is, what exactly is a toxic relationship? What it basically is it's two people that are in a committed relationship together that show actions of distrust, manipulation, disrespect, and abuse, etc. towards each other. Here are some signs that will let you know if you're in a toxic relationship. These are things that take place during a toxic relationship all the time. Number 1, you fight all the time. Number 2, there is a complete lack of trust. Number 3, you constantly keep score of how many times you've done something good or bad. Number 4, there's not a lot of physical touch or intimacy. Number 5, you're afraid to discuss important issues. Number 6, acts or words of narcissism. Number 7, you feel like you can't do anything right. Number 8, there's a complete lack of interest or no affection, no humor or joy. Number 9, one or both partners are insecure within themselves, or they're overwhelmed with jealousy and always want to know each other's whereabouts. Number 10, there's zero motivation to fix any of these issues in the relationship. Number 11, guilt tripping or gaslighting. I'm gonna have to look at my notes for this one, but the difference between guilt tripping and gaslighting is guilt tripping is manipulating someone into doing or not doing something by making them feel guilty, while gaslighting is psychologically manipulating someone into doubting themselves. And notice how both involve manipulation. Number 12, domestic abuse, any type of verbal or physical attack. Number 13, a lack of support. Number 14, being humiliated. Number 15, a lack of consideration. Number 16, a lack of faithfulness or commitment. Now, this list is already long enough, but these are the most common aspects of a toxic relationship. Now, if you're with somebody right now and you've experienced one or several of the things that I just listed, chances are you're in a toxic relationship. But what's just as bad as a toxic relationship are the people that promote it and say you should do it, talking about how it's fun and exciting and it's cute, which is not the case at all. And me, I'm not single. Like, I'm in a very healthy relationship right now, but even if I was single, I would rather stay single than be in a toxic relationship. And for the people that do promote toxicity in relationships, maybe that's all they've been shown growing up. Maybe they weren't shown genuine healthy love. I haven't always been shown what genuine healthy love looks like too. So if that's the case, then I definitely feel empathy for those type of people. But promoting and encouraging something like that to kids and young adults is definitely wrong, and we got to stop doing that. Being in a toxic relationship can drastically change you, and if you let it, it'll gradually chip away at you until you become something that you weren't. Now, while I won't go into specifics about my toxic relationship and I won't talk about that person, what I will say is, for me, it took my mother telling me, I don't even recognize who you are anymore, for something to click in my head that something's got to change, something needs to be different. But as I matured, I understood where the toxicity towards me came from. Basically, what it boils down to is hurt people hurt people. And it's that hurt that you carry that transfers onto other people. It's kind of like a virus when you think about it. But how can we correct this unhealthy narrative of toxic relationships when it's so socially accepted nowadays? One of the first things we can do might be a little tricky for some, and I even had trouble with this at some point. If you find yourself newly single from a toxic relationship, instead of looking for a rebound or just jumping into the next relationship, The most important thing is to stay single. Just take that time to be single. I know it sounds boring and it can be lonely at times, but surprisingly, it's very beneficial. Taking the time to be single is like giving yourself space and time to think. It's an opportunity for you to discover or even rediscover who you are, who you want to be, and how you want your next relationship to be. When I went through my healing process, this was very important to me. There was a very long period where I was single. Pretty much, actually a couple of years I was single. And at first I hated it because I was lonely, but then I had a change of perspective. I'm grateful for it now because it gave me a chance to heal from that toxic relationship and what it did to me and how it made me feel. It gave me the time to heal from unhealthy behaviors like low self-esteem, isolation, and a lack of self-respect. It gave me time to think about what kind of man that I am and what kind of man I want to be and how I want my next relationship to turn out. The next thing to do that's very important is to have a good support system. Not just that, but it's also important to listen to that support system. And of course, I'm talking about your family and friends. They're the ones that are on the outside looking in. So if they tell you, hey, you probably shouldn't be messing with this person, it'd be a good idea to at least take that into consideration. A good support system will never put you down or make you feel stupid or invalidated. And they'll always provide that wisdom and comfort to help you get through difficult times and to help you make better decisions for yourself. The next thing that you need to do is get closure for yourself. This one can be a little bit tricky because nowadays a lot of people don't apologize for the stuff that they do. So if you do come across somebody that tells you something like, I'm sorry for the way I treated you, like that's my fault, hope you can forgive me, and something like that, use that as the closure you need to move on. Even if you don't get that genuine apology that you deserve, it's still important for you to move on and get closure for yourself either way. Now, before I get into the last suggestion, I want to ask you guys something. Please don't let your bad experience in a toxic relationship make you bitter or fill you with so much distrust that you don't give the next person a chance. Now, hear me out when I say this, that I think a lot of people have become lazy or even scared in the sense that we like to generalize people into certain categories as a way to protect ourselves from having to go through the work of getting to know somebody. A good example of this is like all men are the same or all men cheat, or all women are the same and all women want is money from a man. We make these assumptions about people because it would be easier to assume that and be right than to get to know somebody and date them and possibly be hurt by them. Just think of it like this. If you do want to meet somebody nice and you want to have a good relationship, you have to be willing to give somebody a chance. Now, I'm not saying to be fully trusting in the very beginning, but proceed with caution. If somebody's putting in the effort with you and they're showing you that they actually want to be with you and have a solid bond and relationship with you, then definitely enjoy it and give that person a chance. I didn't mean to go off subject like that, but I think that was something very important to bring up. The last thing I want to suggest is if it's within your means and budget, then talk to a therapist or a counselor. Now, I'm not saying this like some of the people on social media where they'll read a post and they'll say, oh, well, who hurt you? Go get some therapy. I think when people say it in this context, it comes off as very insensitive and it doesn't really solve anything because not everybody can afford it and it might not be just an option that's so readily available to people. My whole point is it's not just what you say, but it's how you say it. So if you're somebody that's able to talk to a professional through your job benefits, you should definitely take advantage of that. But if this isn't an option that's readily available for you, BetterHelp.com and HelloAlma.com are some websites that I came across that might be a more suitable option for you. You can go on their websites, answer some questions, and you should be able to talk to somebody. And I'll make sure to type those websites down in the description. But yeah, this is my take on toxic relationships. If you've made it this far, then I really want to thank you. Again, I try to be careful with what I say and how I say it because I don't want to come off as, being still hurt from my past relationships or anything like that. I only talk about the things that I know. But I will get to a point where I'll have other people come on here and talk about what I'm not so knowledgeable about. But that's all the time that I have for today. Again, this is Take Notes, and I'm your host, Marcus, aka The Real Marky D. If you want to reach out to me, you can send me a message on Instagram at The Real Marky D. You can also email me at technotespodcast4@gmail.com. Next time we'll be switching things up and we'll be talking about healthy relationships, so stay tuned for that. Until then, y'all be safe, take it easy, and I'll see you next time.